everyone, and welcome to our 30-minute workshop. My name is Dre. I'm with Variphy, and today I'm joined by Matt Sykes, another SC over here at Variphy. I'm quite certain you have heard his voice on here before, or probably worked with him already. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, Dre. How are you, buddy?
Doing fantastic.
Good.
All right, before we get started, I'd like to mention that Variphy does support Cube iOS analytics these days. It's quite the popular feature right now. So if that's of any interest to you, just let us know or contact your account manager. Okay, but for today's workshop, we're going to be talking about DID multi-block searching in our version 12.4. We're going to start off with a quick overview of our company and what we do. We'll jump into a live demo where Matt will guide us through the new DID multi-block searching. We'll pause for Q&A and get some of your questions answered. During the demo, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the Q&A panel at the bottom right of the screen. After Q&A, we will reward one lucky attendee with a $50 Amazon gift card, so hang around to see if you won. A quick overview of Variphy. Variphy is the preferred analytics and management solution for Cisco collaboration. We provide industry-leading CDR reporting and call analytics, customizable dashboards, widgets, UCCX reporting, remote phone control, and change management. But today, we're going to be focusing on that DID multi-block searching. If you have any other questions or any other about any other features, we can most definitely take them offline and get those answered. Before we get started, I want to announce that Variphy now offers a service that provides managed consulting services to our customers. Variphy's SE team will be engaged on a one-on-one basis to remotely provide additional consulting, reporting, dashboarding configuration, and system monitoring assistance. This is a service that provides a dedicated Variphy SE to do the heavy lifting of report creation and generation. For more information, please contact us, and we'd be glad to speak more in depth about our new service offering. All right, let's get into the demo. Matt, can you get us started?
Let's do it. Go ahead and make me the presenter so I can share out,
Yes,
sir.
sir. And it is coming your way. You should have the ball.
I do. Rock and roll. Let me drag this header out of the way. It's always in the way. All right, there we are. All right, hello and welcome everyone. Matt Sykes here with Variphy, as Dre just mentioned. Today's weekly webinar, we will be covering the new DID multi-site and block search capability that we have in our new Variphy 12.4 version. Where I'm starting us today is just a quick little kind of self-education links here real quickly before we dive into my lab. So where I'm at right now is on the Variphy.com webpage. I just want to make everyone aware, underneath the products page, we do have the what's new option at the very bottom. This will certainly showcase the new features and improvements or bells and whistles that are in the new GA, or potentially some things that are maybe on the roadmap if they're down there. All these things in 12.4, which was a very feature enhanced release, was released a week or so ago. We've covered a lot of the new improvements and enhancements actually in previous webinars prior to the holiday break. But today's session, we are going to focus on these purple guys here. So mainly the multi-block, the multi-function searching. But I do want to make reference here real briefly to an enhancement also has been made to DID management in this version. That is the capability of not being, I guess, shoehorned, if you will, into certain area code and exchange formats for our number range within the DID blocks. Previously, we were kind of handcuffed once again to the North American numbering plan. So if you had an invalid area code or exchange, the application would recognize that immediately and kind of give you a red kind of error message, notifying you that it is an invalid format. Well, now in 12.4 we have released that governance and made the allowance for the such options for zero leading patterns, if you will, for more complex dial plan configuration environments. So just want to make aware of that. Certainly that was a request that came down from one of our customers, so we certainly baked it into the products. We definitely see the need and use for it. But also within this what's new page here is definitely what we're going to showcase on today, which is the new DID multi-site and block searching. So before 12.4, we're kind of limited, if you will, to the amount of data you could pull back from the management system for DID. You would pretty much be siloed, if you will, to one DID site at a time and one DID block off of that site at a time. So now we've actually opened it up. You can see toggles here. You can see multiple sites that are, and multiple blocks that are have been specified here in this quick little screen grab here. So this is what we're going to showcase today. So with that stated, real briefly, I do want to segue over to my Knowledgebase article page real briefly, just to make everyone aware on the verify.com website or kb.verify.com. Knowledgebase. We certainly have our articles here on all of the modules, the high-level articles. Feel free to browse them and view them at your leisure. But the DID management is where I wanted to bring your eyes real briefly here. So if you're new to DID management or you're unfamiliar with it, certainly we have documentation here for you, as well as videos to pair with these. But certainly if you want to kind of explore these, go right ahead. We also have the DID block configuration import is in here as well. But mainly I'm bringing your eyes here is to show you this new KB that's been written for us, specifically for the multi-block search, the multi-function searching within 12.4 DID management. So this article right here specifies yet with the new release of 12.4, the multi-block and site configuration searching that is certainly here. Now, we're not going to comb through this whole KB and read it line for line, because I think that would maybe not the most beneficial of time. So please feel free to go ahead and peruse this at your leisure, to go ahead and kind of familiarize yourself with the new search functionality, or you can reference this video that'll be uploaded come tomorrow on our website as well in this webinar section, which I'm heading to next. So within our webinars, which will soon be called workshops, here will always be the upcoming webinars to kind of register for. This one probably should be gone because we're live on it right now. But certainly underneath this are our library of webinars. So certainly we definitely have them siloed by module, but the DID ones are down here as well. I just want to make a quick little reference of them. They're there. So this one here is mainly on kind of the first kind of infancy or rollout of the DID management module, with once again with the limit of single site and single DID search capabilities. But definitely once the module has matured, let's say, a little bit, we definitely have added the DID block import utility, which is in there as well. I performed that one a while ago, but definitely very good videos to familiarize yourself with the module if you are unfamiliar with it. Wise man once said, you can't be familiar with something without first being unfamiliar with it. So let's go ahead and jump into my lab and take a look at the new functionality. Okay, so DN management for the purple module, the DN and DID management, or the dial plan management module, will launch you right into DN management at first. I believe I'm connected to my 11.5 call manager cluster at the moment. Let me just log into this so I can cross-reference anything I may need to. But also I'm going to use DN management actually to cross-reference things for my DIDs. So let's jump into my admin section real briefly. And under the call routing is actually the directory number section. Actually, this is an 11.0 cluster, but let's go right into the directory numbers here. I'll search it nakedly and see all the DNs that I have defined in this version 11 call manager cluster. So here they all are. No reason to peruse them at the moment. We can certainly reference them if we need to. But as well as that's exactly what the DN management is reading as well. So if you don't want to cross-reference anything between DID and DN, you certainly could go to the source and go to call manager, but you can achieve the same results or your cross-references through the DN management within Verify as well, which we will touch base on. Okay, DID management, here it is. Here is the multi-search functionality. So now we have options to search multiple sites and multiple blocks, or bulk on both fronts, or a combination of the in-betweens. You'll certainly see all of the regular stuff is still here. So the 3 status options of available, inactive, and active, as well as the search box for the line numbers. We can certainly use patterns and wildcards there, but we will come back to that in a moment as well. First, I just want to kind of bring our eyes over to the configure section that definitely feeds and is the configuration for the DID management search capability and functionality. Now, within the configure section, certainly here are all my blocks where it loads me into first, but I just want to take a step back and look at the sites. Now, DID sites. So in this lab environment, looks like I have 4 DID sites built. Then I have a quick little summary of the blocks that are associated to these sites within this little section here as well, with potential location reference as well. So I can see Chicago has the top amount of blocks. So let's go ahead and take a look at those blocks. So now within the DID blocks, there is a newer function now. It's not new to 12.4. It's been around for a couple versions now, but there is a DID search option here now for the blocks, for the blocks. So if I wanted to, I can certainly use the pick list here to pick on the to return only the DID blocks from the Chicago DID site. Very quickly knows kind of using that pick list, or if I wanted to, I could certainly use a a number pattern within a one of my NPA NXXs. Just as a quick example, just for for speed of management, because certainly in production environments, once these get loaded in here, there's pages and pages of DID blocks that are in here. So this is definitely a great update that has been made to the product recently. Just hasn't gotten a lot of light shed on it, let's say. Okay, so certainly we can peer at what we need to within these within the blocks, or come back to them once we need to, or if we need to. So right now we can just dive right into the search function. So within the DID management multi-search options now, as you can see, I'll have pick lists or the toggle all options, as you can see next to these. So I have all 4 of my DID sites here at my disposal. Maybe I'll pick on Chicago, and then from that, it will actually read and only provide me or allow me a pick of the DID blocks that are associated to my Chicago site. So here are all 4 of those that I had pre-built previously on imports. I can onesie twosie pick these and then go ahead and search them as I need to. Let me just go ahead and maybe search for, I don't know, maybe anything that's available maybe in these 2 blocks underneath the Chicago site, for instance. It will return the results. Now it will be searching the line numbers specifically. So 217 total available numbers. Let's just expand this just a little bit. Let's see if I have anything programmed or mapped here. No, it's just still 217. Let me choose a better block, excuse me. Let me go with the 708 variety. Okay, we can certainly, you can as always, you can always use a custom kind of a pattern search if I want to search something like 10XX, or I could search it plainly wide open for the whole 4-digit range for the line number, and it will certainly search that and encompass all of the provision line ranges that have been constructed and configured in the DID block section there. So all the number ranges that are in here is what it is searching based off of these status options and obviously the search value. So from these 350 results here, as always, we can see they're mapped to internal DNs, showcasing device registration. But also, let me just get this out of the way. There are also additional columns that we have baked into the export options, so we can actually see from what sites they're a part of, or what DID block they're actually associated to. So the status options and the search functionality is still the same as it was, but I think the export options now are just fantastic. And this is definitely going to add a lot of value to the module moving forward, with obviously with the cross search functionality as always. But now we give a lot higher level summarization and a little more intricate as well. So I can turn on a lot of summary for the DID blocks that are part of my search or my export results, as well as the summary statuses of these sites and these blocks. We can run these, organize them by status or number. And here are the detail columns that I am going to list out for all this information. So the DID number, status, tags if applicable, but also, which is new, the DID site names as well as the block names. So we can go ahead and generate this real briefly. As always, the same deliverable options, PDF or Excel. You can download it or email it to yourself. Let's go ahead and just generate one here real briefly here for these 350. I have created a spreadsheet for me that looks like this, but now at least I've got all of my Chicago 708 blocks. Let's say if I was a manager that governed maybe this piece of my call manager, for instance, very easy then to get this export and to showcase exactly how many are available, how many are inactive unassigned, which means essentially that they were active and registered on a device at one point, but no longer are, and probably need to be cleaned up by one of the UC admin group members. But also definitely, now this is a lab environment that I have, so I only have 5 active devices that are registered within this site, but we can certainly look at them. Definitely the 253 block is just a lab example here. I have nothing assigned or mapped to it, so that's why all 250 of that range are available. But this is just the first of 25-page report. We don't necessarily need a 25-page report if you don't, but you most certainly can have one for all of your blocks and all of the summarization therein. Now this is just page 1, so I'm going to comb on down to page 2, and it's very high level again. What are my counts for the status options for the DID numbers? And then it'll list out for each one of the status options, available, inactive, and active, all of the DIDs, their corresponding DNs if they are mapped to any, and the site they're associated to, as well as the site name and block, but the tags as well. So if we have certain tags for prana reserved, for executive reserved, for termination dates, organizational codes that may need to be tagged, certainly these will be included within the exports as well. That is, I believe, newer. So here are all the availables. We'll comb on down. here are, here are my inactives. So we can certainly see that these DNs or DIDs that are tied to these internal DNs are inactive. Once again, they were active at some point, but no longer are in limbo and need to be cleaned. Here's another one right here that does have an inactive reference of it, but there's also an active one that is attributed to Derek. So it will fall underneath the active bucket. So, and then once again, here are the active DID registrations here over multiple blocks. These are the 250s. Here are the 253s. All the 253s were available. So these were all the green ones in my search results from that previous results screen. But maybe we want to get bold. Maybe we want to turn it on for all of them, or maybe we only want to pick on certain blocks. You certainly have a variable of options here at your disposal. I'm not going. Excuse me. Maybe I will. I'm going to run this wide open for all the blocks and all the sites and blocks that I have. And I'm not going to run the export for it, but I will run the results because I had actually ran this prior to this call. So what a full whole organization would look for my lab example preferences would look something like this. Now, once again, this can be showcased in PDF or in an Excel spreadsheet preference, of course. Now, this is a 103-page report here from my system-wide export here. So for all blocks, for all my sites, so all 4 of my DID sites are here. They're tied to a cluster I have in my Variphy called Chicago. It is listing out even my search parameters that I have built in here for this search function for this export, listing out very high level, the block overview, the blocks that are included within this report / export. If we don't need to see certain bits and pieces of this, there's definitely suppression on those toggles that we saw in the export screen. So very high level here. Here's the block overview. I do have 8 total blocks spread across these 4 sites within this lab environment. It is just showcasing very high level here to me, the blocks that are associated with this export. And maybe not the best spot for a page break, but here starts with Chicago. It's going to go alphabetical. Here's 551, 11, and 5. Then Frisco, San Francisco, and San Jose, and their respective status options for the DID statuses as well. But then also give us a block summary status. For, okay, within this block, how many are available, how many are inactive, how many are active. So certainly if a manager is looking for a block of new phones for new hires, for some type of migration, for special projects that are turning on, and they want special numbers, certainly they can run a quick little export like this first and see what may be most caterable for them for what they want to provision for those new people or those new projects. Or even tracking down what is active or what needs to be cleaned up, for instance, these inactive unassigns. Once again, a little more summary status here. So all of them as a total. So there's, between all of those sites and all those blocks, there are 1,528 that are available, 20 that need cleanup, and then 15 in this this small demo lab here that are active and registered on devices. And then once again, it'll slide down. The remaining 100 pages or so are going to be just of the assignments of these, whether they're available, inactive, or assigned, with their the verified DID site name as well as the block name reference as well. Now, you don't necessarily need to have all this in here, but you most certainly can if you needed to. So I'll just breeze through these real briefly. I don't think they're my Connor reserve tags. So once again, if the tags are utilized, they will certainly be part of the export if you so choose. So for instance, what I mean by that is underneath the export options, because we're only listing out the first 25 for you. Now, when searching, using the search function across all sites, all blocks, I mean, it's going to be, I would think, a very swole number, a very high number. So you can be more pattern-based if you wanted to as well. So for instance, I could search maybe on my 1100 pattern range, which I know lives in my Chicago location. So I'll turn that on for all blocks, we'll say, for the Chicago site. And it will list out all of those DID block line ranges, and we'll search them, not list them all out. We'll search them all and then provide back to me these top 100 that are obviously can't be more than 100 with 11xx, but these will be they. So it's listing out the first 25, as I had stated before. We can export whatever we need to. Maybe we're only, once again, chasing the actives. We can certainly do that. What are the active DIDs that are linked to internal DNs that are active within this cluster, within this DID site? And here they are. Here are the 7. Once again, we have the full 10-digit DID mapped to an internal DN. We have a verified cluster name reference. We have a status flag, if you will, for the DID itself, as well as once again, still just like DN and DID previous to this update was the device registration. So we can see the description, the alerting name, the assigned devices, as well as the called parade transform mask. But now we're we've baked in a couple others to give you access to the DID site and block names as well, which obviously are certainly part of the exports, but also from the exports, as I was mentioning, certain things that can be suppressed, for instance. So if we don't, we pull that PDF back up, jump back to the top of this. For instance, oh, no, bad one, big one. This 103 pager. So maybe we don't necessarily want to see all of those that are listed out. Maybe we don't want to see the block overview. Very easy to go ahead and just suppress that. So for instance, I don't want to see the block info in the summary. And maybe I actually don't want to see actually all of the status of all of those. Maybe I just want the very high level summarization. So there's a lot of options that you can do here and kind of tailor these reports/exports, to each manager's or UC admin's preference. So, but definitely the options are here at your disposal. The Excel format may look a little cleaner. Once again, that's preference, of course. This is the same exact all sites, all DID block search export. So once again, just different format, different field, same exact information that we just saw in that PDF here. So very tailorable to only pulling in certain content that you may want, or if you could go system wide, but it may take a couple minutes to actually generate that export for you if you are doing a very large deployment export, let's say. Okay. But definitely a lot of options for suppressions and stuff therein. All right, tags. As always, we certainly have tags. I've got a couple different tags here. Certainly you can search by the tags if you wanted to. That logic has not changed. Mainly it's just to showcase the new multi-search functionality. So once again, it's just not limited just to DID blocks underneath the site. You can do a full system wide now, or you can do multiple sites at one time for all their associated blocks, as I kind of merely demonstrated earlier. Now, certainly DID blocks can live or be associated to multiple DID sites. So certainly you have a lot of different options at your disposal, which the Knowledgebase article will dictate for you for your reference. Okay. All right, let's see, what else do I have here? I do want to make mention though, with regards to user access to this stuff. Now, definitely, application or sysadmins are going to have access to, the configuration options to modify blocks and play with sites and stuff like that, and maybe even run their own their DID block imports, for instance. But I just kind of want to show you some of the user provisioning that is on this as well. Excuse me, so user accounts and groups. I do have a Matt test user, and I just want to show you it is not a sysadmin or an app admin. So there is some restrictions or permissions that need to be made within DID. So underneath just a general user record, this is here. So I've turned on access to DID management, but then what you need to do is you need to specify that user certain rights or privileges to certain blocks. If not, you can certainly just make them, an administrator of them if you feel they need that high level of rights. But to keep this, kind of restricted or permission based only, you certainly have options to limit their access to only reading the DID blocks, or to be able to, to go ahead and tag things within the results or the blocks themselves. So I have a couple here. So let me actually just log out. Actually, I've got another one right here. I'm going to log in with this test account real briefly. It's going to jump me back in, isn't it? Let me just log myself out, and I'll log in with this Matt test account. Yeah, perfect. I love breadcrumbs. Okay, so I'm logged in as Matt test, so we can see my modules have shrunk. But if I go into DNS DID, you can see that I no longer have the configure option. So the configure option where you can tweak the DID sites and the blocks and play with the block imports and all that good fun stuff is, it is an administrative permission. So user permission can be given within DID, as I did for this one, but I definitely have limitations for what I can search or what I can tag. So let's pick on Chicago. Let's look at all associated blocks, and let's look at the 1100 range again, because I know I have a lot of things registered there. That list out once again to me the top 25 based off of 1100, and you can see I'm a read only on this block here. So within this, this is my 708250 block, which says all the way on the far right. I just don't want to shrink out the screen, but that's why I'm missing my pluses here. I cannot inline tag anything. I don't have access to the configure option to go ahead and block range tag certain things within a block. So once again, just kind of illustrating or demonstrating the permissions restrictions that are attainable within the module here. All right, let's see here. I'm running a little light on content, and I think I've covered most everything. So, Dre, my friend, I think I'm gonna wrap it on content, sir. Might you have any questions of concern for me from the group?
Not yet. Mohammed was saying just a really good feature, save us from running SQL queries and see you see him. Yeah, that's nice.
Oh,
Um, that was pretty much the only comment so far, though. Or any
well, well,
questions?
well, I tell you what, everyone, please feel free to chime in with any questions or concerns you may have with the content for today. But while you're typing that out to Dre in the Q&A panel, I'm just going to showcase maybe it's a quick little cross-reference between DID and DN management, for instance. So let me just hop back into DID. Let me play around with my Chicago site, and I know this block I actually have registrations on, so let me just go ahead and run this guy. Okay, so for instance, maybe I'll pick on Dan's because Dan's got a translation pattern here off his 1106. So if I needed to double check anything, or if you see any kind of maybe, I wouldn't say mischievous or suspicious so much, but maybe some unknown results maybe that are mapped here within the DID results, whether it's from the results page or from an export. Certainly, as I was mentioning earlier, you can hop into the DN management if you want to cross-reference and search the directory number that is tied to those DIDs within the Variphy application, so you don't actually have to dive right back into Call Manager. So you can just come right next door, and it's going to be reading that same directory number database from Call Manager as it is anyways. So if I search that once again, you'll notice a pattern here. If I search that 1100 range once again, and I maybe only wanted to look at Dan's, excuse me, I'm sorry, that was the example. Maybe look at Dan's 1106 because I saw it had multiple devices and a translation pattern, but I just want to make for certain without checking Call Manager. I can step into DN management, kind of build out off of the DN, mind you, not the DID. These are reading DNs, and just to see at least what the DN is mapped to, how it's how it is, what device is it assigned to within the Call Manager, just to save you a couple of clicks from actually having to dive and log into Call Manager. We can actually see that there is a translation pattern here that actually does have a mask of the 1106 that actually happens to be Danimal's agent extension. So that makes sense to me, but it's obviously certain environments, certain things may need a secondary look at. But just giving you kind of a quick example of a cross-reference. I know I'm 1107 myself. Let's see here. Yep, there's my IPC, my agent communicator here, and I should be in a listing as well once I rerun that. And 1106 underneath Dan, and here's me. I am active. I'm red. Okay, so that's I suppose that's a little cross-reference in a nutshell there, but definitely a lot of enhanced search functionality. This is going to be phenomenal for the field as a whole. I guarantee it, because I've been clamoring for this this option or this enhancement for a little while. So I'm pleased that it is here and glad to share with all of you and assist you with it as well.
So we do have a couple questions, Matt. So
Please,
Jeremy
please,
asked,
please.
is there a way to adjust the PDF as far as margins and page breaks?
Not natively, but definitely from the good question though. But definitely from the export, you have a lot of options. So let me pull that PDF back up. So depending on what you're searching, how many are you use? Do you want to include the block overview? Is that going to take up the whole first page, or do you only have maybe onesie twosies where the site status can actually, the full site status of maybe however many sites you have there, can maybe come up to the first page. So there's no native, I guess, margin options that you have through Variphy, but certainly there are suppressions or inclusions that you can use from the export options here to kind of maybe pair that to a better viewing light for you. But that's kind of also why I did kind of make mention of the the Excel option as well. So there's not going to be any page breaks in Excel, and it's kind of reads through maybe a little more cleanly to others than maybe some that don't want to read PDF. But good question, Jeremy.
And then we also got, what is the import format?
Those are trademark secrets. I can't share those. The import option is for the blocks. So great question, though. I'll segue over there. The configure. So if you have a brand new Variphy system, or if you just got licensed for DNDID, you won't have anything defined natively for the configurations for the DID management. So you'll need to create from ground up, and that's what the Knowledgebase articles will assist you with here. With these guys will assist you with as well, and then this one as well. What you can do then is you can build out your sites. They could be regional, they can just be containers. It could be just one site and you have all your blocks underneath it. But regardless of I guess container name labels and how many of them there are, we need to have DID blocks. So the DIDs do not live natively within Call Manager. The directory numbers of the DNs do. We can read those, but the DID is what we use the import option for, which is way over here. You can create DID blocks manually, just to show you what the page may look like, but you can create them manually, or you could certainly use the import option, and there's a sample template as well, to actually import the information for all these blocks. So let me pick on maybe one of these blocks here. So this was imported from a sheet or from a spreadsheet for this this 408 area code for San Jose. Certainly you can gussy up the descriptions in the provider cells if you need to. It will auto inherit the line numbers. It will create the line numbers per the contiguous or the listed, I guess, DID numbers that you have in your import sheet. It'll also auto discover exclusions that need to be made, and also potentially mapping exceptions. So if it's not something as easy as map the X most right characters, maybe there's site codes that we need to take into account, or maybe there's just no logical mapping whatsoever. For instance, maybe 1234 is the DID number, but it rings down to a DN of 9889, for instance. There's no easy way to map that together, so we can override those. So there are options in the import file to actually have the utility handle that for you. So you can certainly do this manually, but I would think the import util is going to give you a lot of flexibility with that. And then once you use that import, it's going to import as many blocks that are in that source sheet that you want. Obviously, they will be assigned to a site for that import, but the importing option is pretty phenomenal because nobody wants to do this manually. So just combing through here real briefly on this KB, yeah, so there's the configure option for it, the import option for it, what the sample file, here's what the template will look like. It's very simplistic. There's only a couple required fields, I believe the header row and column A, for instance. Everything else can be selected through the import wizard though, and this KB will walk you through all of it with recommendations and kind of how-tos to kind of go ahead and do that, and then to go ahead and assign sites for it, and then kind of searchabilities and what the listings will look like after it import results. How many were excluded? There's exclusions. There's once again DN mapping exceptions, and all of that was covered in this guy. So if you wanted to watch this video and and then reference this KB at your leisure, I think that'll put you in good standing with how to go ahead and perform that. But if not, you can always reach out to support@variphy.com, and Dre and our support team are waiting at the standby. Great question though.
Yeah, very good question.
Little long-winded on the answer, but great question.
Awesome. Well, it looks like for all the questions we got today, Matt. I'm going to go ahead and grab the ball for you. Thank you so much. Great job.
And
let me grab this.
Thank you for the floor, DJ.
Why can't I share screen? That's fun.
I did stop sharing, so you should have the.
Oh yeah, here we go. There we go.
There you are.
All right. Let's move on to what everybody's been waiting for. I'm sure is the winner of our Amazon gift card, and this week's winner is Doug Becker. Congratulations. Woo! We're going to coordinate with your account manager, and we'll reach out to you shortly after this session.
Congrats, Doug.
Well, thank you, everybody. Don't forget, we got next week's workshop. It's going to be how to deploy a cube cluster and verify pre-12.3 OVA. So make sure to register for that if that's something that's of interest to you. And that's going to be Dan Schmidt and Matt Sykes once again. So thank you, everybody, for your time today, and have a great rest of your week.
Take care, all. Thank you.